There's a trillion-dollar question that looms over the AI space. How will the government navigate AI? Will AI be embraced, regulated, outlawed, and how will it impact you? Well, as of today, we actually have some concrete answers, or at least we do for one AI-curious city, Denver, which hopes to be a laboratory of sorts, a testing ground for AI solutions in city governments. The mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, is very AI curious and even AI progressive. Last week, Mayor Johnston and the city of Denver hosted the first ever AI summits, and I believe it's the first city in the US to do so. The mayor announced his vision for AI for Good, which includes partnerships with AI startups and entrepreneurs like Reid Hoffman, the billionaire LinkedIn founder. So in a first for this podcast, I'm bringing you AI Curious from in the field, on location, from Denver at the AI Summits. My name is Jeff Wilser. I'm a journalist, I'm a human, and I'm curious about AI. And today I am joined by the man who is arguably one of the most AI savvy and AI progressive politicians in the US, the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston. First, to set the scene, the AI Summit was sold out and packed with startups, nonprofits, innovators, and folks who work in city governments. I've been to plenty of conferences. Often the speaker is giving a speech to a big empty ballroom, and most people are milling about grabbing free cookies and coffee. Not here. The crowd was engaged. And most of the conversation focused on how, pragmatically, in the short term, not in sci-fi land, AI can actually be useful in our day-to-day lives. And that gets to my conversation with Mayor Johnston. We only spoke for around 10 minutes, but we covered a ton of ground. We covered the things that AI could be really useful for, from slashing red tape to speeding up traffic. We got into the concerns over AI bias and inequalities, and how to translate AI hype into AI solutions. If you're a business leader, the mayor opens his playbook for how he inspired his staff to get up to speed on AI. And for me, the mayor's vision has one key theme. Multiple times in our conversation, he used the phrase low-hanging fruits. I don't think that's an accident. He acknowledges there are complicated questions about privacy, surveillance, and so on. But before we even go there are tons of practical, concrete, low-hanging fruit solutions that are worth exploring. This has parallels to any industry, really. You don't need for AI to revolutionize your company. Maybe you can just use it to make a few things work a bit better. All right, so before we get into it, 3 quick things. 1, we recorded this conversation in the heart of the hustle and bustle of the AI Summits on the floor of the Denver Convention Center. So the sound quality, not the best, but you should be able to follow along. And 2, quick shout out to the mayor's son. Just before we started recording, a teenager, the mayor's son, approached me and said he's a regular listener of AI Curious. So that was a fun coincidence, and I appreciate you. And 3, I am not sure how to fact check this, but I think this is one of the very first times an acting US government official has done an interview about their actual plans for AI policy. It might even be the first. So I'm honored this conversation is happening on AI Curious. So with that, please enjoy my conversation with Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver. Well, Mayor, congrats on launching AI for Good. Share a bit. What is a vision for AI for Good? What excites you most about it?
Yeah, well, we see as a great opportunity is we have an amazing ecosystem of entrepreneurs, founders, innovators who are starting companies, launching companies in the AI space. And what we know is we have a whole set of very difficult social problems we're trying to solve. And we think there's a great opportunity to bring those two forces together to say, how can we make it easier for companies to work with government, and how can it be easier for government to open our doors to be an open API to find these great solutions and bring them in. And so this was really about that intersection of how we can use AI as a tool for good. And what we saw today was an amazing combination of companies, of thought leaders talking about what they see as possible here. And so we hope this will become and the defining conference of tech and government in that intersection where we think to get to scale, government needs to be a better partner. We want to be that for the innovators.
I love your Sunny, the chatbot you're rolling out with.
Yes.
What are some other, great name by the way, what are other tools you envision in the future, things that could actually help real citizens or residents? What are tools or plans you have of how lives can be changed for the better?
Yeah, and this is one of the, some people that have misperception of AI are worried about the doomsday scenarios. What we're saying is, would you like your application for a building permit to be 80% faster? You would say yes. Would you like to be able to get to work 15 minutes faster than the current traffic is? Would you like to make sure there's never a missed pickup for your trash on a Tuesday? Like those are all things that AI solutions can provide better customer service for. And so our hope is that those are the kind of innovations that we can partner on to help make sure that people's experience in public services, world-class services, just like you find anywhere in the private sector, because they are often driven by private sector partners. And so that's our dream.
Love that. There's obviously a flip side to the coin. I know you've thought deeply about AI ethics, AI transparency. You've spoken about that. What are your plans to ensure this is all done in a way that doesn't exacerbate inequalities or biases?
Yeah, this is why, if Federalist Therapies was here today, and is just brilliant on this topic. So we believe that actually people that are recipients of public services, like 1 out of 3 Denverites receive services from our Department of Human Services. That means food stamps, that means some sort of benefits-based program. Their interaction with government should be seamless and beautiful, elegant, and high quality. Most of our services are targeted towards folks who need additional support. We think those are the very people that deserve world-class services and don't often get them. And so this is where we think the opportunity here is all based in equity, which is the most challenging problems we have, are the services we want to get to folks who need it the most. We want to get to them in a high-quality way, and that's what we think AI can help us do.
To that point, you're partnering with Reid Hoffman, the city is partnering with Reid Hoffman, who's expressed a desire to have cities be an innovation lab and so we can learn things for big ideas and have that be a model for other cities and other sectors. What excites you about that? How are you thinking about how Denver can be almost a test case, a laboratory for the rest of the country?
Yeah, we want Denver to be that first partner. We want Denver to be the place where you can take a big idea, you can test it, we can iterate it, improve it, make sure it works. Then we can go to the other 100 cities in the country and in the world who are our size, who need those same problems fixed and say, here's the tool we used, here's why it can work for you. We think that's a win-win for the city, for other cities, for our partners. And so we wanted to really announce Denver as open for business and as kind of an open API to the rest of the tech community to say, if there are tools you think can help people, let us help you deploy them well and responsibly and make sure they have that impact. And if so, you can share them with people all over the world.
A lot of folks are concerned about surveillance and privacy. How do you balance tools for public safety and public good with concerns of screws and constant surveillance and what that kind of state would look like?
Yeah, and I'm totally aware of, and we want to be mindful of all of those risks. I think what we're looking at is there are a lot of simpler, easier, less controversial problems we have to solve. Like one of the companies here today is literally a more efficient way to identify and order nuts and bolts for our general services department.
Yeah.
And that is takes
literally
a lot of time.
Nuts, and they showed on a slide a picture of a bolt and a nut. And
Literally.
How do you find this?
How do you source and find this bolt? There's 24 different codes. We're trying to a homeless shelter for 100 people who are on the streets. And we can't because we're missing a part to a piece of equipment that makes the hotel be ready to open. And so that is the reality. And so we think there are a lot of the solutions that are more direct and simpler and clearer, like accelerating permitting is not a controversial topic. We know others that get to more components of surveillance or privacy want to be really mindful of those protections, but we think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here that every resident would say, of course, I'd love to have that be faster than it is now.
To that point, what are other surprising, sneaky ways AI can actually help people out in any under the hood way? In a way it's not obvious, it's not sexy, but thanks to some process improvements, the average Denver residents' lives will be a little bit better.
Yeah. I think one of these is traffic. Our ability to more successfully program traffic light timings and movement based on traffic waves is going to make your commute to work much easier, and you won't know why. Same number of cars on the road that were yesterday. If we can make them move in a more coordinated fashion, that makes their experience much easier. And I think we look at things like, if people want their cities to be safer, I talked about an innovation today that we're looking at on the public safety side, which is when all of our officers wear body worn cameras. There's technology now that if an officer goes to intervene in a fight at a bar and ask them to write a ticket around that or write a report around that, it can take 3 or 4 hours that officer's time, and that's the time that he or she's not on the beat can to say. This tool could help take that audio, translate it immediately from the audio, what all was said, pre-populated right to the report, then an officer just lets over and approves. And you both get much faster with pace, with more officer time on the street. And what you find is that report is much more objective. Doesn't rely on faulty human memory or our perception of what happened, you get the reality of what actually happened. We think those are both good for people that are worried about over-policing and good for folks that are worried about better utilization of officers' times. We think those are the kind of win-win opportunities that exist here.
It's also very exciting. It also sounds very hard. What are the biggest challenges in making this a reality, and how will you overcome these challenges?
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I think we start with a minimum viable product. What's the first version of this we can launch? We're looking for where there are a couple places to discrete problems we're trying to solve with partners who either have a product or could build a product that we could deploy. And let's take one small problem and see if we can move it. See if we can move. For instance, we're very interested in accelerated permitting time. That's a very big deal. If you're trying to build a home in this city or build a multifamily home, it affects our affordable housing stock. If we could accelerate just the permitting process for affordable housing, that would be a game changer in the city. So we'll pick a couple of places like that. Phaedra's work on Promise around being able to more quickly access public benefits. You don't have to, as a low income individual, fill out 27 different forms for 27 agencies for 27 different benefits. You can streamline those all at once. Those are things we think could be low-hanging fruit we can show momentum on and then share those practices around the country.
I'm going to absurdly go from small low-hanging fruit to like far in the future. Let's say this AI for good vision shakes out exactly how you want. Let's say it's the high-end outcomes. What could that world look like, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How can our lives be meaningfully different if this all shakes out in the best case scenario way?
I think 5 years from now, you'd see at this conference thousands of people who are bringing their hardest problems from cities. You'd have 50 mayors like me and 100 companies all saying, here's the way we can partner on some of the toughest problems. And then you'd start to see those problems that you thought were unsolvable in your city suddenly get solved. So all of a sudden you figure out that there is actually enough supply of affordable housing to it, and there is actually dramatically reduced numbers of hostile-involved shootings or dramatically reduced numbers of murders or dramatically increased traffic flow on the same roads with less wait times. Like those things are difficulties we've just come to live with and accept as part of modern day life would suddenly get smoother in the way first time you realized you could order food online and have it delivered to your house without you having to leave. That was a game changer. We think those game changers can come to every part of government, and we'd love to see this accelerate that.
Every leader, whether in governments or in the private sector, or most leaders, are thinking about, okay, how do I embrace AI? How do I make AI work for us? You clearly are at the forefront of this. You must be thinking deeply about even within a culture, even within the government itself, even your team, your staff, the divisions. How are you thinking about the best way to make AI actually useful and concrete as opposed to just kind of a hypey buzzword?
Yeah, for us, I did two things directly with my cabinet. One is I asked all of them to get out whatever AI tool they want to, whatever ChatGPT format they want to try, and start using it.
I love that advice. Great advice to listeners,
I think
by the way.
some people don't know what it does until you start playing with it, and
Learning by doing.
Learning by doing.
Yep.
The second was I said, build your running list of what are the hardest problems in your department that you can't seem to solve, and why are you stuck on them? And we're going to take those lists and start shopping around innovators like these and say, do any of you have ideas on some of these tough ones? And we think we'll find some good matches there.
You're focused in Denver, but I'm guessing you have ideas broader than that at how AI can be used in the governments at the state or national level. What are some ways that intrigue or excite you at how AI can be used for public policy and public sector?
I think our big idea on this is that cities really are the places where most of this is going to get done because we are the people running direct services on the ground every day. And you think about the most significant things that affect your life. It's public safety, it's housing, it's traffic, it's economic opportunity. We are the implementers of all of those tools. And we think, we're nonpartisan, we're closer to the ground, we're nimble often. And so we're more likely to be able to say, let's find a partner, let's implement it quickly. If it doesn't work, let's fix it and improve it. So we think our real goal is if we can test a lot of these tools and see that they work, we can then scale them to other cities rapidly, and then we can scale them to states. We think probably cities will be the first adopters, the first movers here, because we have the most autonomy and the most control, and because we're the closest to public services.
What advice do you have for other mayors out there who are in your same shoes and who have facing the same problems?
Yeah, I'd say, there was a time where we thought it was crazy that you could put a bunch of numbers into QuickBooks and it would do a budget for you, and that seemed dangerous and risky, and like it would displace employees. It actually didn't. It made it much easier for those employees to use their time better, and accountants are far better off as a result. And so we think the opportunity to be able to say, we're not telling you to buy something you don't need. We're saying, tell us the toughest problems you can't solve, and let's see ways in which we can use this incredible technology to solve them. When the car first got invented, people were very worried it was going to kill more people, and it did. But it also brought the advent of the ambulance, which meant we could get people safely to hospitals not just if you got hit by a car, but if you're just in your house and had a heart attack. It could dramatically change our capacity to save lives. This can be that innovation for us too if we use it to learn.
Last question for you. I ask this all my guests. How are you use AI in your personal life, whether for work or for fun?
Right now, I'm actually using it on college searches for my kids in terms of what are the right kinds of, I can input their interests, their regions, their size priorities, really helpful on that. And I'll do it sometimes for restaurant selections for my wife and I when we go out. And then for work, I use it a fair amount on looking at policy research. We look at innovative practice happening in other places. I used to have to search through 15 economist articles and find something called, and now I can get it in 5 seconds. And that's a great place for me to start my learning on a new topic I want to learn.
Amazing. Congrats and thanks again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, there you have it. Thanks again to Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, who has just unveiled his vision for AI for good. Thank you to the city of Denver, where I am proud to be a resident. Thank you to you, listeners and watchers of the show. If this is your first time here at AI Curious, please consider subscribing at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. Rate it 5 stars, comments, like, all the goodies. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.